I love that scene.
So
It
even
still makes me the 10-year-old in me is like, yeah, every
e-
time I see it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Story Beards. I'm Zach.
and I'm Chris, and today we're going to talk about our favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe moments. So we've each picked three. We're going to kind of talk through them. Some of them are going to be lighthearted. Some of them are just going to be joyful. But it's Marvel, so everything always ends on an upbeat. So we're gonna go through some of the ones that just kind of stood out to us that we just really love. So
Yep.
I got three. You got three. We'll see. I think both of our number ones are the same, so
Yep.
that's going to be fun. So I'll go ahead and start off, and then we'll just kind of jump back and forth here, and just like my number three is one that is recent. So Loki, the TV show that they did on Disney Plus, absolutely loved that show, but my favorite
Loved it.
moment came in episode 5 called Journey into the Mystery. And it's where it's Loki being Loki of, hey, we're just betraying each other constantly. Like, well, actually, and they just keep turning the table on each other, and like everyone's like, you bastards. Like it was so enjoyable because it's like they had a great sense of humor about Loki the character and how
Yep.
he always kind of does the same exact thing. As they're changing the character into something new, they're
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, in him is built this thing that he continually just does this,"
Yeah.
which they kind of alluded to as well in like Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok, when he's having the conversation in the elevator with Thor. It's
Yeah.
kind of like you know, you always betray me. Like
Yeah.
around and
Kind of
around,
coming to
we keep
grips
going
with.
to this, and
Yeah.
like having a sense of humor about that. But my favorite part about it, that entire scene, is Gator Loki getting up, going up to the main Loki, the President Loki, just jumping and biting his hand off, and him looking at his hand, his stump, and being like, "Ah!" and like having that really high
That
pitched
was a good scream.
scream.
Yeah. His scream was perfect. Yeah. Tom Hiddleston does such a good job. I laughed aloud and rewound that. Rewound. How old am
Yeah,
I? I rewound on that and watched that over and over again. I love that too.
yeah.
I was that was almost going to be the second, one that we both agreed on. So we're just going to have just the two of the same ones. But yeah, I loved it.
Yep. So, what was one of your favorites?
So mine, I kind of in a broader fight sequences. So I do have a couple specific ones that could qualify in the title moments, but I picked more of an aspect. There's some awesome fight sequences in. I want to highlight a few. Winter Soldier, Captain America, Winter Soldier, pretty much the whole thing. That is one of the best. Some of the best fight sequences I'd seen, in a while. When I watched it, and still stands as one of the better Marvel movies, and uh, just a really solid action movie. Uh, um, Another property, the Netflix Daredevil show, specifically, pretty much all the hallway scenes. All the hallway fight sequences. There's several. There's a lot of fight sequences in that are awesome, but I think the first one is in the first season. I forget what episode. It's like darkly, dimly lit, and it's awesome. It's reminiscent of uh, like not quite as kind of like like a gritty like Old Boy, like that
Yeah.
famous, like there's like a crazy like hammer hallway sequences. A bunch of like Korean action movies have these like awesome gritty sequences like that, and this one had it was a take on that. It was awesome. One of the Yeah, that was one of the better Netflix series. Not every season really hit home, but they did a lot of great things with in each season, and especially the fight sequences were so well done. Some of the best action I'd seen that year. With fight sequences, um, the John Bernthal in The Punisher, he was my favorite thing about that show. Him and I forget her name, but she was awesome. Plays the lawyer, the crossover, and she was also in Daredevil, and she's close with the Punisher as well. Her character, she did phenomenal. Those two, I really liked. But anytime John Bernthal went "Roar" in the Punisher, which was a lot, and it was during the fight sequences, which there are also some really good visceral ones.
Does he also rub
Yeah,
his head repeatedly in that show?
that was Walking Dead. And Rick Grimes, if you want to do a Rick Grimes, you lean forward and say Coral, and then Negan, he leans back. I made you spaghetti. Um, but John Bernthal is one of my absolute favorites. He was awesome in that. So that's one of mine favorite multiple moments. Some
Nice.
awesome fight scenes.
Nice. My favorite, and I would probably put this in more of like a dramatic moment, but it's a character building moment. So my favorite character throughout the Marvel is well, I guess I have two. I love Spider-Man as a little kid. Watched the cartoon, always read the comics, like absolutely loved Spider-Man. But for the longest time, he wasn't in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because Disney and Sony suck. But when the Marvel Cinematic Universe started, so my favorite character throughout that from the start has been Captain America. My wife greatly disagrees with me, and we will have her on at some point to explain why she disagrees with me.
I'm so looking forward to that.
So coming soon, there's going to be a segment called Jana Rants. So get prepared because that's going to be awesome. But so in Captain America, the first Avenger, they're setting up who Captain America is, like who he is as a person. And I went back and watched this recently, and it was one of those things of like I completely forgotten that Stanley Tucci was even in the film. And it's like, oh my goodness, like they had so many good actors in that film that you think, oh wow, like especially with like Marvel just really kind of starting at that point of
Yeah.
man, they had him, they had Tommy Lee Jones, like they had Hugo Weaving, like just so many great characters and actors they had in that. But so prior to Captain America and Steve Rogers like getting his superpowers and the super serum, he has that conversation with Stanley Tucci, and he's asking, why me? And Stanley Tucci, who his character name was Dr. Abraham, says, a strong man who has known power all of his life may lose respect for that power. But a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion. And as they go through and they talk a little bit more, he makes the point of like, I selected you not because you're a perfect soldier, but a good man. And I mean, that's something you see throughout the universe of as they're developing this character, Captain America. He starts off because like they even reference him in the Avengers as the soldier.
Yeah.
And it's like that transition from soldier to good man is his journey throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you see that with his and Winter Soldier, where he is going against the authority. He is going that path of, no, I'm doing what's right. I'm being the good man, not the perfect soldier that's following orders. So I greatly enjoyed that of like it to me it was a perfect setup for his character of understanding like his psychology and who he's going to be throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then the other thing they did, and I think that Marvel has gotten away from doing humor at a quiet level. Like everything now is like, hey, we're going to have Rocket Raccoon say something ridiculous, or we're going to have Drax say something ridiculous, and like going for big laughs instead of like those quiet moments. And so like he's pouring Dr. Abraham, Stanley Tucci's character, is pouring drinks for him and Steve Rogers and hands it to him, and he's like, oh, what am I doing? You have a procedure tomorrow. You can't drink. And so Steve Rogers says, we'll do this tomorrow. And he's like, I don't have a procedure tomorrow. I drink it now. Don't do it after I drink. And like, just like one of those little like
These
human
little moments.
moments. Like it's not someone trying to do something big for a laugh,
Yeah.
but it has that humor built into it, and I miss that. I don't think they do that well enough now in the current of where Marvel is at currently. I wish they would do that more.
Yeah.
But that whole moment, that whole scene in Captain America: The First Avenger is probably one of my favorite scenes absolutely throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and
Yeah.
one of the best scenes because of how it impacts who the character is moving forward.
Yeah. I like that scene a lot too.
Yeah.
I need to watch that one again.
Yep.
Fun fact, quick note. I remember, have you ever seen the really old, like original, I don't know if it was late 80s or 90s, Captain America movie? They
I
tried
have
to make
seen
Captain America.
I've
I
seen
saw it
clips of
growing up
it.
on
I never
VHS.
watched it.
I have, and I still kind of remember it. I remember it just being bad, and I think that was one of the reasons they didn't make any comic book movies
Yeah.
or superhero movies for a long time. Uh, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Is it me now?
It's you now.
Of course, I got to be different again and not pick an actual moment. But my moment is another favorite moment is Paul Rudd. Just anytime he was on the screen, great casting choice to have Paul Rudd be Ant-Man. Yeah, he's just super watchable, super pleasant, and yeah, I like what he did. He's just himself, but it works. Like he's still like developed. That was still a character. Ant-Man, you still
Yeah.
felt like the essence of him, who he was, but he definitely brings a lot of himself to it. One specific scene that was one of my favorite moments, when he first meets uh, most of the Avengers after that fight with Falcon, and then he's in like a um, he comes out of the van. He's real sleepy, and he meets Cap for the first time. And he's just—you can tell the look on all the actors' faces, like that was improvised, and like they're just actually like reacting to him being funny and charming.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, thank you for thanking of me," and he's reacting to. I think he like grabs like uh,
Yeah.
Chris Evans biceps or chest or something and reacts to just how strong and impressive Captain America is.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's charming and infinitely watchable. And yeah, well, and I would
Yeah.
throw Tom Holland in there as well. They're both just charming and perfect choices for
Oh, absolutely.
for the MCU.
I love Paul Rudd. I love him
Yeah,
in just about anything that he's done.
yeah,
Oh man, he's so likable
yeah,
in everything.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved what was it? I guess it was Endgame. Like some of even like the small moments that he's able to pull off of him sitting outside as like the jets landing kind of deal, and he's like losing his tacos, and he's just sitting there like frat, like being able to play off those small moments like
Yeah,
that, or he's like, I peed my pants. I don't know if it was young me or old me or just me.
yeah.
Like yeah, there's so many great things that he's done. Yeah, there's a story about him where it was the final season of Friends, and he's like
I
going
always forget he was in
around.
Friends.
He was going around and like as they're like filming like some of the final episodes, and like everyone's like, "Man, I can't believe it's been like 10 years that we've been doing this." And he walks in, and he's like, "I know, wild ride, right?" Like he's just been on for like a season.
I always forget he was in that. And he was in community, not community, Parks and Rec, as
Yeah.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
forget.
his
He
character in
just shows
Parks and
up and
Rec was
makes stuff
great.
better. Yeah, he just shows up and makes things better.
Bobby
And that was
Newhart.
yep.
Oh. All right. So time for our number one. I'm guessing that you
Yes,
have the same number one as I do.
I do have the
Um,
same number one as you,
so our number one is Thundercat.
Thundercat man.
And, it to me there's so many levels to this of why it's great. One, I love that it's a great callback to Age of Ultron. One of my other favorite scenes that didn't make this cut is that party scene in Age of Ultron. And like I'm a big Josh Whedon fan, and that was the one scene, like, you could tell throughout that movie where he kind of had conflicts with Disney, of like Disney was kind of forcing him to do certain things. And that one scene felt like the definitive, like, this is my scene. Like, this is Josh being Josh. And it was just so fantastic to see like them just kind of joking around and then going and like lifting up, trying to lift up the hammer. And you see it budge that little bit when Cap does. And so I know everyone's kind of talked about that of like, oh no, he could have lifted it. He chose not to. And
Yep.
it's like wherever you fall in that debate, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that they call back to that with
Yeah.
Thor immediately saying, I knew it. And
Yeah. It was
yeah,
earned, like the
yes.
best kind of like fan service. It was earned fan service. And yeah, it was just joyful, like triumphant. Like I really I loved it. I'm sure that was a lot of people's favorites, and
Yeah.
I genuinely love watching the like clips of audience reactions, like in a movie
Yeah.
theater. Everyone just freaks out, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. I love that scene.
So
It
even
still makes me the 10-year-old in me is like yeah every
e-
time I see it.
even now, whenever I'm scrolling through YouTube, if I see that clip, I stop and I watch it. Like I will always want to see that. I mean, it is probably the most recent movie that has made me cry, and it was tears of freaking joy because it was so awesome how they did it. And again, like you were saying, it's fan service, but it was earned. It
Yeah,
wasn't
and
something
it's just
that we felt was cheap, that like, oh, they're throwing this in there just to make fans happy. It's
yeah,
no, they set up and they build this, and it came in at the right moment. They weren't mocking it or making fun. It was,
yeah,
no, this is one of the most iconic things in the comics, and we
yeah.
have to do it right.
And they did a good job, especially in those last two movies, Infinity War and Endgame. They did, it's a hard task to give so many characters,
Yeah.
screen time and to develop them or give them good, cool moments. Infinity War, I think, suffered a little bit, like, with some characters getting kind of regressing a little bit, not like,
Hmm.
but kind of shoehorning it in for the plot of the film. But they did good for the direction that they took. They did well. But then, yeah, that was just this awesome moment, and it was
Yeah.
like Cap's like him as Captain America, his last last jam, and that was just perfect. That it was just
Yeah.
what Chris Evans was able to do with that character was just awesome. He's just likable, strong leader, just infinitely
Yeah.
like honorable and like conflict not conflicted, like a real dude. That's like you said, like the choice to be a good person, to be a
Yeah.
good man and to be a leader and that's just was like you were happy for him, you were happy for yourself, you're happy to see that, to witness this awesome
Yeah.
looking scene and like just and Chris Evans made
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth made that awesome too. Like he's
Yeah.
hilarious, and he just that their whole like dichotomy with everybody in the group, like
Yeah.
ripping on each other and the
No,
rivalry, and
you
like
take the little one.
yeah, but then just this like yes, like he was
Yeah.
he was super happy for him, and that just
Yeah.
made it even better. Yeah, just an awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it. And to tack onto that, like that, and that took it. Another favorite moment of mine was Thunder Thor. Like when they finally actually gave Thor like thunder and lightning
Oh
powers
yeah.
in Thor Ragnarok, and
Yeah.
the scene where they played like a famously hard to get
Oh
the rights to song.
yeah.
Perfect use of music. They did it
Twice.
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 It's like that's ridiculous, but it's like it
They
works so
made sure
perfectly.
Jimmy Page could stay retired.
Yeah, if they're like, hey, if we're gonna spend, a
Yeah.
couple million on this, let's use it twice,
Yeah.
or whatever, however much it was. But they
Yeah.
famously, don't lend that out, don't
Yeah.
give that away. But but it was perfect. Like it really worked, and I love that moment. And then this was just like that, but for Captain America, and like
Yeah.
in a way, like even more, just huge.
Those are our favorite moments. Let us know down in the comments if there's moments that you think that we should have added, or moments that you think need highlighted that other people need to go back and rewatch and view in a different light.
Yep.
So hopefully Marvel keeps giving and giving us good things to be excited about, and not doing fan service but doing earned fan service where they build it up properly. And
Yeah.
we should encourage them to keep doing that. We want to keep getting good things from them because I mean they are changing how movies are. um Unfortunately, it's going more towards their way of doing movies. So we'll also keep going on and highlighting hidden gems for you so you
Yeah.
can see movies that aren't Marvel and say, hey, here's some good stuff to watch. But thank you guys for hanging with us. Thank you,
Thank
Jeff
you.
Goldblum, as always.
Thank you,
Uh,
Jeff Goldblum. Another favorite MCU moment.
yeah.
Thank you, Jeff Goldblum.
Peace.
Peace.